Hey there, Boots Owen here. This is an Indesit washing machine that has obviously gone to meet its maker. It had a very subtle kind of destruction where it ultimately wound up with it just tripping the circuit breaker a few times, and that's normally spells the end of any kind of fun because it just keeps happening. So this machine had originally failed for a dud bearing and dud motor, but I managed to keep it going just to smash it. It has been smashed. Now I want to take a look at the bearings inside and salvage the motor for recycling, and salvage the drum, which I think is relatively good condition inside for a fire pit. So without further ado, I'll drag it over onto the concrete and take it apart. I know that Tommy was worried about me using these cables. This is my go-to extension lead for nearly everything. And you'll notice that most of the blue in there is intact, which is good. I might use it again. Oh, I'll tidy up and zoom in. Beautiful bird song about today. Very pleasant. It's springtime. Pump doesn't want to leave. That's the power cord, it can be recycled. So I think ultimately what was going wrong here was with this motor, because it's got clay all around it. It's the wrong size. Because it's got clay all around it, it just kept earthing or leaking to earth. Possibly even through the earth cable, just going flapping around, but I don't think so. I think it was just not necessarily leaking to earth, but leaking live to neutral or something. Let's get some spanners. So a Torx bit in here. So the belt was damaged, but that's an aluminium flywheel there. You can use them to make an e-bike if you have a wheel with a disc brake mounting. You can make a plate, use this as a pulley, and in reality you can use a washing machine motor as your motor with a DC controller, but that's a project for another day. that's the motor disconnected. Now whenever I hotwired this, I used a little jumper cable. Looks like this, and you find these in various machines for different wiring systems, but if you get one with the 2 spade connectors female, you can use it for hot wiring motors. Very handy. The motor just lifts off then, and you can see it's pretty dirty, and you can see the commutator ring in there. There's a lot of dust on it, which may be clay actually, looking at it, and hot too, because it's dried out quite a lot, but it's got some big scrapes in it and the brushes aren't making contact across the full width. So that one wasn't working properly in a washing machine before, and I had to revive it. Now, somebody in the washing machine world made a very clever decision a while ago that they could make it more difficult to repair things if you couldn't take them apart. So in the past it was possible to unscrew the front from the back of the tub, and if you look at my bearing videos for other washing machines, how to replace the bearings on a hot point and on a Bosch, you'll see that you just take out a load of screws or take off some clips or something like that, and you can split the tub. This one has a welded tub, so here there is a seam, but it's welded together, plastic weld, can't take it apart. So as it stands, this is a service part. The whole tub with the drum and the spider and the bearings, you have to buy for like over 100, maybe 200 quid, just because you want to replace a 10-pound bearing set in the back, which is really bad for the world and the environment and everything. It annoys me, but it is what it is. So the simplest way to get in here is to do the smashy. But before that, I want to take off this rubber seal, because I suspect it's better than one that I have on another Indesit washer dryer, and I suspect that it will fit. I think it needs a clean, but despite it having been put through the wringer there, it's come out relatively intact, and I think it could live to fight another day and to be put into service on another machine. So I'll salvage that. Also remove that brick. Concrete ballast is still on the front. That's really the only thing that makes this heavy. Now, how do you check the bearings? Well, you can see if you watch the rim here, the rim of the drum against the plastic rim here, they don't run concentrically, so something's not right in there. The shaft is bent, the spider's broken, or something like that. I don't know yet. The other thing is if there's any play, so it's not too bad for play, but when you spin it by hand, it's not a real test because I've thrown bricks in it, but before I had thrown bricks in it, if you spin it by hand, it made a lot of kind of like loud grindy noises from the bearings, which is a sign that the bearings are knackered. Let's separate it. So there are the bearings mounted. There should be a water seal on that side with a bit of, excuse me, a bit of pink fluff around it. Let's see if we can get them out. Oops. So that's the water seal, and you can see on one side there's brown rusty water marks here. That's a sign that it leaked and water got into the bearings. And you can see down in the bearings, I'll bring them up for a closer look. As you can see in here, there's a lot of water sat in the bottom of them. Not a good sign. Let's drive them out. So I've just got a little metal pin here, not too big or small, and I'll just try and drive it out with that, with a hammer. You could use a screwdriver or something. If you're not going to try and reuse them, and in this case we're not, you don't really need to use a bearing pullers or anything fancy. I have a feeling this one's not going to want to come out easily because of the rust, so I'm going to try and drive the one in the outside out first, and then I can maybe use a bigger something to hammer through. Bigger pusher. So here's the outer bearing. It feels a bit gritty now, but I've given it a lot of damage. Poland 6204Z, PPL, RPL, I can't see the name there, PPL bearing from Poland. Those marks are from me punching it through, but I was trying to hit the inside rim here, but it slides off, and that's from me hammering it to get the shaft through on the outside. That didn't there, so that's just a dud bearing now. So the inner one's the one that I think is the real problem, making the noise. So this is what went wrong, I'd say. Let's have a look. This is the side on the water side. That's the other side. So it looks like it's okay on the outside, or the outside, and this is the inside where the water would be, where that seal failed, but it's really quite loose. Difficult to show, but I can feel it in my finger. You can hear it, that sounds awful. Quite a lot of rust, quite a lot of friction getting it out because it had rusted into the aluminium housing. You could hear when I was hammering it, as I hammered harder and harder, the note changes as it moves and begins to move, and once it started to move, you can be pretty sure it's going to come out. These are sealed bearings, so if I just open them up you can see what's inside. So let's take a look at the rusty side. You just need a tool with a hook on the end. You have to hook it in here if we can. Doesn't want to come, this one. Let's try the other side. No. we go. I'm destroying it here. I think in theory you can take these out and put them back, but I've never seen that possible for me. So these are not the balls, these are cages around the balls. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bearings, and they just rotate around. There's a cage that's riveted together holding the bearings in position so they don't all bunch up on one side, but that's all it is. A little sealed bearing unit that has failed, and you can see that the grease is a bit brown in there, probably from that water and rust. Let's just compare that to the other one. Already destroyed this, so if we can get in there, that'll be good. Maybe not. Let's try the other side. Yeah. So that's what it should look like. That's what it should look like. Nice golden grease, very clean. The way it came out of the packet, the way it came from the factory. Yellow grease, not this brown sludgy grease. That's what you're up against, I guess. That's failed. That one's probably fine. But the issue is you can't get into this without smashing that tub apart. There is no way. You can try and cut it apart very gently and then re-weld it yourself, but you know, the machine has, in England anyways, no value, and to replace a £200, I think they're like 168 plus VAT or something, you know, some crazy price for this tub drum assembly. So there's your failed bearings. One last thing to look at. This is the stainless steel, but it's magnetic stainless steel, so it's not recyclable as stainless steel. It's the drum. You know, I threw bricks in it, so it's got some creases and damage, and that's probably what was going on inside. Spider is this triangle here, but 3 spurred bracket that joins the shaft onto the tub. That's just mild steel, I think, machined to the tolerance that the bearings need. And then in here there's a little brass ring, and that runs on the water seal. And then this is a cast alloy, aluminium alloy, and stainless steel screws holding it on. The simplest way to separate these is the usual. So this is a relatively, that was a bit loud, this is a relatively light duty one that you'd get with an economy or a budget machine. Miele, Bosch, old Bosch have far fatter sections, LG, much bigger sections of aluminium, and then machines like Essentials, I think, the cheapy ones, they're even thinner again, and they just break. I've got a video somewhere of one of them having gone on fire, not gone on fire, but smoked, because one of these cracks, then the drum goes off and wobbles, rubs off the rubber door seal and makes smoke and a lot of noise. So that could be recycled as irony aluminium, or aluminium if you want to smash it further. You could of course take out those screws, but that's a bit of work. And there's a beat up old tub that could be a fire pit if you take out, oh, they've fallen out now, if you take out those plastic paddles. So that's about as much as I can say about this machine. Questions or comments, leave them below. If you liked it or if it was helpful, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down, and tell me why in the comments. If you want to see any other videos, just let me know about it, and if I get around to it, I'll make them. Thanks for watching. See you later.